Okay, now we're going to talk about rounding decimals. This should also be a review from last year. I want to take a look at some examples on the number line so we really get a full understanding of what's happening when we're rounding. So what does it mean to round? Rounding means making a number simpler while keeping its value close to what it originally was. So it's making these numbers nicer and not too far off from what they originally were. So let's go ahead and plot 32 on the number line below. So I'm skip counting by tens, and actually I have these smaller tick marks which are halfway between our increments of 10, which means I'm skip counting by fives with these little guys. So I have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, so on and so forth. I'm going to stop there simply because we're looking at the number 32. So 32 would fall almost halfway between 30 and 35. However, it's going to be a little bit closer to 30. So I want you to do your best to estimate there. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at how many units away 32 is from 30 versus 40. So we're going to round to the nearest 10. Well, 32 would simply be 2 units away from 30, but it's 8 units away from 40. So we would say it's certainly closer to 30. So if we were rounding 32 to the nearest tens, it would be 30. Let's go ahead and look at some of our decimal numbers. So let's plot 6/10 on the number line below. It's pretty easy. That's right there. It's one of our tick marks. So we're skip counting by tenths. That's 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tenths would be the same thing as 1.0. So how many tenths away from 0 is 6? Excuse me, is 0.6. Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 6 tenths away. So it's 6 tenths away. On the other hand, how far away is it from one whole thing? 4 tenths away. So which one of these, 0 or 1, is 0 and 6 tenths closest to? Clearly it is closer to 1.0. Let's go a little bit further and take a look at our hundredths now. So let's plot 14 and 24 hundredths on the number line below. So I have 14 and 15. So this number line kind of got cut off. I'd love if you could put some arrows because all of our number lines always go on to infinity in both directions. So go ahead and throw some arrows because they don't stop there. So let's see how many pieces this is broken up into. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 equal pieces, which means we are counting by tenths. So this is going to be 14 and 1/10, 14 and 2/10, 14 and 3/10. And then 15. There we go. So if we're looking for 14 and 24 hundredths, well, I can go ahead and throw some zeros behind here. So I have 14 and 20 hundredths and 14 and 30 hundredths. So 14 and 24 hundredths would live, let's split this in half. And our half would be 14 and 25 hundredths. So we know 14 and 24 hundredths would be right before it, just before it in blue. So how many hundredths away is it from 14 and 20 hundredths? Well, it would be 4 hundredths away. But on the other hand, if I'm looking and comparing it to 14 and 3/10, which is the same thing as 14 and 30 hundredths, well, 14 and 24 hundredths would be 6 hundredths away from 14 and 3/10 or 14 and 30 hundredths. So if we're going to compare these and see which one is it closer to, 14 and 2/10 or 14 and 3/10, we would certainly say it's closer to 14 and 2/10, and you can tack on an extra 0 there if you'd like.